We would like to nominate James Jim Soileau to the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters Hall of Fame for a lifetime of broadcasting excellence. Jim was raised on a farm in the Fobo area right outside of Ville Platte. He was a gifted speaker in high school, winning awards in the Future Farmers of America organization. It was during a talk he gave to the Ville Platte Rotary Club that he caught the attention of KVPI General Manager Chris Duplichet. The radio station had just gone on the air. Duplichet offered Jim a weekend announcing position, introducing live Cajun music acts in the studio. After graduation, Jim went on to SLI, now known as ULL, and worked part-time for KLFY TV10 that had just gone on the air. He later went on to Natchitoches and worked at KNOC Radio part-time, interviewing such acts as a young Johnny Cash. Jim came back to Ville Platte in the early 60s to become KVPI's second general manager and one of the youngest general managers in the state. He supported the French language programming such as the 7:30 a.m. and 5 p.m. French news, along with Cajun Rendezvous with his command of the Cajun French language. And it was in 1967, at the suggestion of businessman Floyd Soileau, Jim introduced the La Taste Cafe bilingual call-in radio show to the airwaves. With his co-host Dan Andrus, the show was heard once a week for 15 minutes. That show has grown through the years to become a full-hour, 5-day-a-week program because of its popularity. He also supported and promoted the move to add an FM affiliate for listeners to enjoy nighttime music programming, sporting events, and election returns. KVPI AM at the time was a daytime radio station and had to reduce power at night. Jim left to become editor of the Ville Platte Gazette in the late 60s. His weekly columns were widely read. He was also active in such organizations as the Chamber of Commerce and the Knights of Columbus. Jim came back to KVPI in 1976 and stayed until he retired in 1998. He was general manager when KVPI moved location to its current address at 809 West LaSalle Street. Jim's commanding voice was well known throughout our listening area. He was especially known when reading the local news in French, including obituaries. One of the local newspaper columnists, Joseph Pascal Fuselet, once wrote, "I dread the day when listeners will tune in to the 7:30 French news on KVPI to hear Jim's solemn voice announce in French, 'It is with great sadness that we announce the death of Joseph Pascal Fuselet.'" Jim was honored by the Cajun French Music Association for his years as a French music announcer and was inducted into the Louisiana Music Hall of Fame for his support of our Louisiana music industry. He was honored by the American Legion in Mamou for the radio station's support of the annual Veterans Day activities. Jim also served as a member of the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters Board of Directors. He was a journalist and believed, even though we were a small market station, that our listeners deserved to know what was going on in our local community. He always appointed a news director to cover meetings in the police beat. Until his retirement, Jim would personally cover election returns live at the Evangeline Parish Courthouse with longtime Clerk of Court Walter Lee. A few years after retiring, Jim missed being behind the microphone in the news. He came back out of retirement and worked doing the French news and La Taste Cafe a few times each week. Due to health issues, Jim decided to finally retire in 2020 to take care of himself and his wife, Kat. In the KVPI listening area, Jim Soileau was Mr. KVPI. His voice, his use of the French language, and his love of the Cajun way of life will always be a testament to the people who had the opportunity of working with him and to all of the listeners of KVPI.
That I did everything I could to serve our community, and it's been a pleasure to be here all these years to give the news in English or the news in French especially.